you breathe purple and gold? Are you ready to hoist the colors? Now, time for the most in-depth look at the world of ECU athletics. Welcome in to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game. Watch the show live on Facebook and at 943thegame.com. Now, here's your host, Stephen Igo.
Welcome in, Hoist the Colors on a Wednesday, March 5th. It is the middle of the week. We've got a lot to discuss as we head towards another busy weekend in ECU athletics. Pirates set to host Coastal Carolina this weekend in a big three-game series. ECU basketball, big Thursday night game against Tulane. And we've got some baseball last night to recap. But we have not even talked about the ECU football schedule reveal yet, so we'll get into that today as well. We are live on YouTube and Facebook. If you got a question, a comment, a concern, drop it there. We'll get to it over the course of the next hour. Around 12:30, we'll be joined by Tulane play-by-play voice and former ECU baseball play-by-play voice, Corey Gloor. Corey Gloor will make his return to the show. He's making his return to Greenville. We assume he's fresh off a West Coast road trip with Tulane baseball, so we'll catch up with Corey here in about 30 minutes. And speaking of maybe being a little weary and tired, which I am as well for reasons I'll get to in a minute, but Philip Pilkin is behind the glass. He produced last night's baseball game, which thankfully Philip did not end up being as long as it could have been because there was a time it looked like it was on pace for a solid 4.5 to 5 hours, but still was a long one, man. Classic midweek baseball as ECU beats Gardner-Webb 11-8. But how you hanging in?
I'm doing good. As much as it was, and I kind of was complaining, I couldn't complain too loud because, I didn't have to drive back like Coach O and Dylan and Chip did. So I hope that Coach O and Dylan chipped in to buy Chip a coffee because he deserves it because he always drives. And I'm sure that was rough for them. But I'm good. Yeah, like I said, I left a little after 10, so it wasn't too late. Still got home, was able to relax a little bit before heading to bed. And then, I don't go to work as early as most people. Like, full disclosure, I got here at like 8:45 this morning. So it's not too bad. I don't have kids waking me up yet. So we're good there. So here we are, and I'm excited. And I got ECU softball tonight, so I just hope that doesn't keep getting pushed back. It's already been pushed back from 5 until 6.
The weather around. So we just tested the fire alarm here as well in the IBX Media Studios, which was extremely loud. So I feel like I can't even really hear. But, hey, we're here. We're doing the show. We're getting you out a question, comment. We'll get to it. We'll talk baseball in our next segment before talking to Corey Gloor. But I tell you what, Philip, let's start with some football, man. We have not – I don't know how we haven't. I mean, the schedule's been out now for 3-4 days. I guess we've been just too busy. And, again, Friday – with Bobby Harward, our plan is to do way too early game-by-game prediction for the 2025 ECU football schedule. So we'll get that done Friday with Bobby. But this schedule is one of the more interesting slates I've seen in covering East Carolina football. It's just so many Thursday night games. You go the entire month of October without a Saturday game, which is just extremely odd. Not even home or away, a Saturday game in general. For those who have missed it, obviously you can check out the schedule online. Now, they released the schedule Friday after our show with the caveat of the BYU game could be either Friday or a Saturday, and the Army game could be a Thursday or a Saturday. And then that was rectified, 2 days later, I guess 3 days later, first business day back on Monday. The American announced the BYU game will be Saturday, September 20th. And the following week against Army will be Thursday, September 25th. So that was the choice there, which gives you 5 days to prepare for the triple option and to prepare for one of the most physical teams in America coming off a game against one of the most physical teams in America. Not a great schedule advantage there for the Pirates, but it is what it is. You open with NC State on a Thursday, the Army game, of course, on a Thursday, Tulane and Tulsa back-to-back in October on Thursdays with bye weeks mixed around those. So I don't know, Philip, just your initial thoughts on this schedule and how it kind of lines up.
First off, before I give them, are we getting optimistic Bobby Harward Friday, do you think, or are we getting pessimistic? He's going to be full one way or another.
Yeah.
Give me your prediction.
I feel like Bobby – I don't think this is an indictment on Bobby, but I feel like he tends to lean more pessimistic with his sports takes. So I'm going to go pessimistic.
Him and Kaysen, man, when it comes to Pirate stuff. Now, when it comes to their other teams, they're all positive. When it comes to Pirate stuff, man, him and Kaysen.
I will say, Kaysen with ECU baseball is always optimistic. He's predicting an ECU sweep over Coastal Carolina. So,
that is true. He's just pessimistic.
Now, other sports, not so much.
Yeah. So my initial thoughts. Yes, the BYU short week into Army. No team should ever have to have a short week leading into a service academy. Now, the good thing is Army does have a short week, too. They play that Saturday. But what I do not understand, and this is just mind-boggling to me, why would you have a Thursday game prior to a bye week? If you're going to force a team to play on a short week, if anything, you should be coming off a bye week. Twice, East Carolina, Thursday, September 25th against Army is followed up by a bye week. Then they go back-to-back Thursday games, Tulane, Tulsa, and then a bye week. So they go 16 days between the Tulsa game and the Temple game. Well, why are you doing that? Bye weeks should precede Thursday night games, not succeed them. I mean, I guess it does technically succeed the Army game, but the point is it just leads into another Thursday anyways. So I guess that's a normal bye week off because it's still 14 days. But I don't know. It's just – it looks stupid. The whole thing. How do you not play a Saturday game for a whole month?
I'm with you. I don't really – look, I understand that this is all TV driven.
To hell with ESPN.
I mean, if only it were that simple. But, like, I'm with you, too. You have a season – the football season has 2 bye weeks built into it because of where Labor Day falls and where post-Thanksgiving falls. There is no reason – Jonathan Wagner, I was texting about this with him. He made a good point. There's no reason for a team to have to play a football game on, 4 days rest when there are 2 bye weeks built into the season. I mean, I'm fine with having a Thursday night game and multiple Thursday night games. But like you said, like, why? That's all I got is why. Like, why can we not – if it's all about the safety of the student athletes, which is clearly BS, why is this happening? Look, I do think from a prestige perspective, East Carolina, this schedule, you've got the chance to make national waves with the schedule. You're playing NC State on Thursday night to open the season. That's obviously going to be some sort of primetime game. The BYU game is going to be a big deal, especially if ECU comes out of the first 3 games at least 2-1. If they're 3-0, then that might be a primetime Saturday game, as BYU is a top 25 team. The Army game. Army didn't lose an American Conference game last season. They lost Bryson Daly, their stud quarterback, but that's your American Conference opener against the reigning champions. Can they repeat? Tulane on the road on a Thursday night. Tulane's going to be picked to be one of the top teams in the league. So, and then later in the year, Memphis at home on a Saturday. Memphis, we know, is always very good. Back-to-back at UTSA, at Florida Atlantic. Honestly, if I have to make 2 road trips in November, I'm fine with playing in a dome, and I'm fine with playing in Boca Raton, Florida. That actually works out pretty good. I'm not a huge fan of closing with 2 games on the road, but in this scenario, I'd much rather close at those 2 locations than, let's say, at Army and at Temple in November, which I know ECU plays at Temple November 1st, but it'll be cold, but it won't be that cold. So I do like the schedule much more than last year from the chance of making some waves, but certainly still a lot of questions about this team, Phillip, and the stretch of really the first 6 games. I mean, you're talking at NC State. You're probably going to be an underdog there. Campbell will be the game. You're clearly a favorite. At Coastal, honestly, probably a toss-up. BYU, you're probably a slight dog at home at least. Army, you might be an underdog at home. At Tulane, you're probably a dog. So you're going to be underdogs in at least 4 of your first 6 games. And that's a little bit concerning because how do you survive that stretch?
Yeah, and you mentioned them not clearly caring about the student athlete. The conference should want to get as many teams in bowl games as they can. Now, they do have X amount of guaranteed tie-ins, but then there's some spots that are just kind of up for grasp. Why would you set a team up who you know and you've known for years, because these things are scheduled so far out, has a gauntlet of out-of-conference schedule, then you back that up by making them play 2 really tough opponents off the jump in conference play? I understand they want things to go good for Army or Tulane because they want to set them up to win the college football, to win the conference and then make the college football playoff because there's a huge financial plus if that happens. But also, East Carolina is one of those teams who's fighting for really that third, fourth spot most likely in this conference. I mean, you got to think right now it's probably Army, Tulane, us, Memphis. It's probably those four kind of near the top. Why would you set up one of those four schools, I wouldn't say for failure, but in this tough of a spot? Now, with that being said, if ECU can steal one of those and then win all those games they're supposed to and should be heavy favorites, Tulsa, Temple, Charlotte, yeah, you got Memphis at home, but if you win those, you'll probably be a slight favorite there. On the road at UTSA, probably a favorite. FAU's probably going to be dog water again. You can really carry a lot of momentum into the postseason, which is cool. However, it does, BYU is one shooting themselves in the foot away last year from being in the college football playoff. And now we scheduled that. I get that. But to do that and then short week against Army, come on.
Yeah, I have to believe the American. I know this is ESPN driven, but the American has to look out for East Carolina here a little bit better. ECU Army on Thursday night, that's a cool opportunity. There's got to be a way. Why can't we switch like the Tulsa and Army game? I don't know.
We're on a bye the next week. Why can't we switch that in our bye week? You said, we have 2 built-in buys. Army has 3. You think Army still plays 12 games, including the Navy game, even though it's an out-of-conference, but it's after the season for everyone else. So they have an extra bye. So it's not hard to schedule Army. Now, with that being said, they do have their annual game against Air Force, which I think does usually slot in the middle of conference play. So they got to move some stuff around, potentially play earlier conference games. But still, come on.
Come on, American. Come on, ESPN. I don't know. It's just, again, if ECU somehow comes out of this stretch in good shape, then it makes for a great story. But it's just going to be tough to navigate some of this stuff. And a lot of people were up in arms over me tweeting about the short turnaround. They were saying Army has a short turnaround as well, and they're going on the road. And look, I get that. But they're playing North Texas and ECU back-to-back, and those are 2 very similar offenses. ECU is playing BYU and a triple option team back-to-back. There's completely different circumstances, and no offense to North Texas, but they're not BYU.
I know North Texas quarterback's going to be, but he's not Retzloff.
Yeah, it's not. And they'll score some points, but they're a finesse football team. BYU and Army back-to-back. You could argue those are 2 of the most 5 physical FBS football teams. BYU has grown men out there playing football, 25, 26-year-old dudes. So, that's going to be a tall task, but at least you do get them at home. And I am excited about the schedule from the standpoint of, these games are going to be big. Even if ECU loses to NC State. If ECU beats NC State, then these games are going to be massive. So, I don't know. These first 6 games, Philip, at NC State, Campbell, at Coastal, BYU, Army, at Tulane. What record do you have to come out of this with at minimum, and then what do you feel really good with? Or is it too early to say?
No, it's not too early to say. I think to feel good, you got your 3-3, minimum 2-4.
Yeah.
You obviously got to beat the Fighting Camels.
You got to beat Coastal. Let's be real.
Yeah, you got to beat Coastal. You should win the first 3. I don't see.
You think ECU should win at State?
I think they should. I think we're going to be a better football team. And I know they're a power conference, and I get that, but
if ECU wins the first 3 games,
look, man, we should have beat them in Dowdy a few years ago.
I agree with that.
They are not, and that's the problem. It's not that I'm putting ECU on a pedestal they don't belong on. I just don't think State's that good. Now, obviously, there's a huge roster turnover year in and year out, but there's a reason Carolina goes in every year expecting to beat State in football. Also, they are little brother to Carolina.
But doesn't State always win?
You said what?
Doesn't State always win?
Yeah, because Carolina thinks they should win, and then they never bring it. But point is, and they also play them late in the season, and, Carolina was bad at the end of the year. But still, the point is, State's always, to me, just kind of been there, right? They had the good year where they almost made the conference championship, and Let's see. Christian Ponder was at Florida State. Tyrod Taylor was at Virginia Tech. So 2010, I think. They almost made the conference championship, and that's the year they were good. And it was going to portray them forward, and they end up blowing it the last week of the season. It's been all downhill since then. State football is not a joke, but it is slightly above purgatory. That's it. That's what it is. And I don't think a offense that is executing on all cylinders, called by John David Baker and ran by Caton Hauser, is not worth putting or can't put up points against State enough to win the game.
I do like that you have your offense back, and NC State's got 2 coordinators, brand new. I think that they are going to have some ups and downs early, but that also creates some uncertainty for ECU. I think ECU's got better coordinators right now than NC State, which is just crazy to say, but also I firmly believe that. If ECU's 3-0 against BYU, is there any chance College game day comes to Greenville? Yes, I'm starting this conversation on March 5th. Also on that day, you have Florida at Miami. You've got Tulane at Ole Miss, Auburn at Oklahoma. I'm going through the list here really fast. Michigan at Nebraska, Michigan State at USC.
Yeah, we ain't getting game day. Chris just brought up a good point. He said, and you got to remember, NC State's still going to have C.J. Bailey at quarterback. That is true. You can only trust an offense so much that's quarterbacked by C.J. Bailey.
I've seen worse.
I've seen worse.
I think, look, those are the highlight games. Doesn't game day kind of want to go off the rails sometimes early in the season or off the beaten path?
No, they usually do it like the last week of October. There's Vanderbilt's playing, Georgia and a bunch of other games nobody cares about, and they end up going to North Dakota State, South Dakota State, and the game's not even televised. That's when they go off the rails.
All right, we got to get a break. I want to read some of these comments. So, Casey Normeli says, I'm always positive, 8-4. Javis has a 5-comment solution on the college football playoff that I'm not going to read right now. I'll read it later in the show. Kaysen also says that C.J. Bailey is a good quarterback. I have to say, he was a true freshman last year. I think he's going to be just fine. Let's get a break in. We'll come back. We'll talk some baseball. Pirates win an insane game against Gardner-Webb. We'll touch on that before we welcome Corey Gloor to the show in a little bit to preview basketball. This is Hoist the Colors on a Wednesday.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown.
Living easy is the sound of children laughing as you make memories with neighbors and friends. It's the sound of nothing at all. It's the smell of the salt air. Hear the waters against the marsh grass. See the beauty of our coast. Bow Coast, located in Beaufort, North Carolina. Southern Living's best small town.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human, about creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, It's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master. The Pirates play here. This is Hoist the Colors Radio with Stephen Igo. Yes! That was so good! 194.3, The Game.
Hoist the Colors on a Wednesday, March 5th edition of the show. We've got a lot to discuss. We just touched on some football and the schedule release in our last segment. We'll now shift gears and go over to baseball as the Pirates win a wild one last night, 11-8 in Fayetteville, Segra Stadium. Pirates win just a game that for a while looked like it was going to get away from ECU. ECU ends up coming back with 4 in the bottom of the 6th and found a way to hold on from there. 11-8 the final, 23 total hits, 19 runs, 23 left on base, 15 total pitchers used. It was a crazy game. All right, Philip, you were producing this, and I don't know if you got to see much of it. I guess you didn't get to see it because it was on TV anywhere. But I don't know, did you get an appreciation for how messed up of a game this was as you produced it?
Yeah, the messed up part was this. Look, let's call it what it is. When you have two teams whose pitchers are not painting the zone where they need to, the strike zone's got to be a little pitcher friendly in these midweek games. And that umpire squeezed both pitchers to where they had to throw it over the heart of the plate. There were way too many walks. Now, don't get me wrong. There were some uncompetitive pitches on both sides. However, there were some questionable 50-50s that we could have made every single one of those 50-50 strikes and said we called every 50-50 a ball. And that's part of the reason it lasted this long. However, with that being said, I do think the Pirate pitching could have been better. Now, of course, they had to throw some over the heart of the plate. They let up some hard base knocks because if they tried to paint the corners, it was a ball, so that's part of it. But I thought the hitting overall was pretty good. Late in the game, we swung at 3 or 4 uncompetitive pitches down the stretch. But what I liked early is there was a lot of good plate discipline, drew the walks, but just didn't – it seemed like even this past weekend there was a few – especially that second kid that came in from Virginia Tech, it just made some of our hitters look silly. And I thought last night their plate approach was different. I thought the game was slowed down to where it should have been. You got a guy like Drew Downs who's played, 3 college games now. He gets 5 plate appearances, and he goes 2 for 2 with 3 walks. A lot of promise from the Pirates in the field, not so much on the mound, but there was one promise, baby. Jake Hunter is back. 5 innings of 2-run baseball, 7 Ks. This is what we need. If this team wants to be successful, they have to have pitching depth. Jake Hunter is a crucial piece to that, and he looked like the Jake Hunter of old.
Jake Hunter goes 5 innings, 5 hits allowed, 2 runs, 7 strikeouts, and just 2 walks. As you mentioned, Cliff Godwin said after the game, really hitter-friendly strike zone. Hunter threw 77 pitches, 55 strikes, by far a season high coming off his UCL surgery. Again, didn't get the full Tommy John, but got the internal brace. So good to see him. I assume he may be done for the week. Maybe you could get an inning or 2 out of him on Saturday or Sunday, depending on the situation, but he goes extended. We also saw Bradley Zayak pitch. He got hit around pretty good, a lot of hard contact, 2 innings, 4 hits, 2 runs. Jaden Winter struggled to find the zone, gave up 2 runs in relief. Jackson DiLorenzo gave up a couple hits and was charged with a couple of runs as Ian White relieved him and struggled with his command. So, yeah, nobody could throw a strike. Home plate umpire was Dennis Mishaw, and according to the game notes, and apparently he had a very tight strike zone. None of us could see it because the game was not available on TV, which is a whole other conversation. Should we be playing games in the year 2025 that are not able to be broadcasted for viewership. I don't know, but certainly a lot of people tuned into 94.3 The Game with Dylan Johnson on the call, with Phillip producing. And the big story offensively, Phillip.
Wow, just not even going to mention Coach O.
Coach O. Well,
let
Coach
me know how
O
you feel about Coach O without letting me know how you feel
Coach
about Coach
O is just a staple. Like, we don't even have to mention him. People just know. The coach is one of the GOATs. By the way, Cliff Godwin closing in on Coach O's all-time wins mark. Austin Irby, 2 for 4, 2 home runs, 4 RBI. And he did that both in the initial 2 innings, Phillip. So a heck of a day for Austin Irby, the freshman.
Yeah, we were able to see his power in that one. And what I liked about it is the first one was hit really good. The second one, according to Coach O, he didn't even really get all of it. And it didn't even creep over. It wasn't a no-doubter, but it wasn't one of those where, you were like, oh, my goodness, is it getting over? No, it was it solidly cleared the fence. And Coach O said he missed on it a little bit. Just shows what power that young man has. And look, if you want to win college baseball games, yes, you have to be able to manufacture runs, but you got to be able to hit the long ball as well. And, Irby's up to 4 now. That leads the team. Dixon's got 3, and Boucher's got 3. I think Walker's got 2 or 3. So we definitely need some of the long balls to come. When you think of the best Pirate hitters, hitting lineups of all time, you think of the Killer Bees with Bryant Packard, Burley, and Brickhouse, and those guys were all hitting 15-plus nukes. So we need to get back to that.
Walker Barron, 3 for 5, that home run. You mentioned 2 runs scored. You mentioned also Drew Downs reaching base in all 5 plate appearances. Alex Boucher, Dixon Williams check in with a hit, 2 runs scored as well. And, look, these midweek games, you just got to find a way to win them. They are ugly. And not all of them are like this, but let's be honest too, Philip. Anytime you break out the Lavenders, whatever we want to call these uniforms that I sincerely do not like, it just feels like we get this type of game. I don't know if there's any science behind that, but that's how I feel. The powder purples, it almost feels like every time ECU wears them, it's just some chaotic game that ends in a weird manner. I don't know.
It's either chaotic or your boy from Queens, whatever his name is, goes out there.
Daniel Bagwell.
Bagwell throws 129 pitches. That was the inaugural powder purple game. Debut powder purple game randomly on the road, 4 hours from home. We brought him out, and we almost lost to Daniel Bagwell in Queens.
I would like to know how many pitches East Carolina averages on the mound in the powder purples, because last night they threw 185. It feels like that number they average around 170 per game. They wear the powder purples, but just glad they won, because huge series this weekend, and if you lose this game coming out of a good week, it really takes the wind out of your sails. But the Pirates find a way. Now they host Coastal Carolina, and it's going to be a massive series. And I really hope the fans get out there. Look, Coastal is really good. I don't know what the weather is going to look like. I think I saw Saturday supposed to be a nice day. Friday and Sunday maybe a little iffy. But Coastal is really good. I was doing some research on them this morning. They have 3 legitimate weekend starters. Usually Coastal is known as a club that can mash. Well, this year they can pitch and they can mash. I do wonder, they have played 1 true road game this year. That was a loss to North Carolina last night in extra innings. Great game. I do wonder how they're going to respond. No offense to UNC, but they don't exactly have some raucous home field atmosphere in the Bosch, especially midweek games. Can Pirate Nation create that atmosphere and see how Coastal responds on the road in a really tough environment? Look, Coastal plays at a fun ballpark as well, but this will be one of their first times in a really, really tough place to play. And we'll see how Coastal responds. And I think Coastal right now is a better team, Phillip, but I'm not discounting this team at home, even as young as they are. I feel like they're due for a breakout weekend, from start to finish, really, I would say.
Yeah, I think so. Like you said, they're 1 to 40 or how many ever guys are allowed now are probably slightly, I don't know if better is the word, but more mature, more advanced. But look, it seems like, last night there were questions, but a lot of those questions were on the mound. A lot of those guys are guys we will not see during the weekend. But really, if you look at, I'll even go back to the last midweek and incorporate every game in there, even including the Kent State game, because it was really only 1 bad half inning of baseball. Hell, it was really 4 bad batters of baseball that kind of cost us. this team is looking like a complete baseball team. They're looking like they, will be in a regional somewhere, and if they get hot at the right time, could be in a host conversation. So, is Coastal probably the favorite slightly? If it was neutral, yeah. But look, Coach Godwin will come out and admit it, and so will these players. Man, they feed off that crowd. They feed off the jungle, and yeah, the weather might not be great, but usually bad weather doesn't really affect attendance drastically, I feel like, at Clark LeClaire Stadium. And I do think the hardcore fans will be out there regardless, because the weather, as bad as it's going to be, it's not going to be like 35 and windy or something bad like it is outside right now. Well, I guess it's warm right now, but
warm and windy. Yeah. All right, let's get a break in. We'll come back. We'll switch gears. We'll talk hoops. Corey Gloor will join us. Tulane about to make its way to East Carolina for a big Thursday night game. We'll discuss that and more. This is Hoist the Colors on a Wednesday.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Looking for a great deal on a new Nissan?
At Greenville Nissan, we've got a great selection of new Nissans for under $30,000.
The stylish Nissan Sentra, offering top-notch fuel economy. The Nissan Altima, known for its comfort and technology.
The Nissan Kicks, the perfect combination with its compact design and performance. The Nissan
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cooked to order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Hi, I'm D.R. Alligood.
And I'm his daughter, Jessica.
For 11 years, we have built quality driveways and parking lots for both your residential and commercial needs. We also offer free on-site quotes to have your custom driveways built the way you want.
252-946-1227.
Pirate fans, 2025 East Carolina football season tickets are on sale now and can be purchased for as little as $115. Head coach Blake Harrell wants you to be a part of his first full season as the Pirate coach as he builds momentum off of the 8-win season and the Military Bowl win over North Carolina State. Call 1-800-DIAL-ECU or go to ECUPirates.com today to get your 2025 season tickets.
Here there be pirates. Back to Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo. How good is this on 94.3 The Game?
It is Hoist the Colors on a Wednesday. We've talked ECU football and we've talked ECU baseball. And now we're going to talk some Pirate hoops because huge Thursday night game coming up inside Minges Coliseum. Not only is ECU going to host Tulane, but it's also going to be the return of Corey Gloor once again to Greenville, North Carolina. He joins us now over the phone. Corey, how's it going, man?
I expect a carpet rolled out for me. I expect some barbecue sitting at my spot tomorrow night. And Minges Coliseum, I expect to be wined and dined in my return.
Well, Corey, we have all that set up for you. At least in theory. We'll see if it comes to fruition. It's hard to get some of those things done around here, but we'll see. By the way, so we'll talk hoops in a minute. You were out in Cali, in Malibu, and Long Beach for this Tulane West Coast baseball road trip. Are you tan right now?
Oh, no, of course not. I am at best translucent and at worst slightly pink. Yeah, I got back. You texted me, and I think you didn't realize you texted me at probably about 6 in the morning where I was, but that's fine. I don't expect you to know where I am at any waking moment. But yeah, in a weird scheduling logistics situation, I missed a basketball game, and I was with baseball for a weekend, and I got back about 6 a.m. yesterday morning, which was Mardi Gras here, so people are already awake and heavily intoxicated. So that was a weird thing to walk back to. But yes, I was just in California, and now I'm coming your way.
Man, from coast to coast, Corey Gloor. In recent years under Coach Hunter, right now Tulane with a 2-game lead and a leg up with the win over ECU the last time in New Orleans. East Carolina can at least make them sweat a little bit if they can win tomorrow night. So just what are the general vibes on Tulane's end as you get ready for this big game, this time on the road as the Green Wave try to make it 2 in a row against ECU?
Yeah, I think there's Ron Hunter's been pretty clear to his group over the last couple of weeks, really, when they've continued rising up the standings, just what it would mean, the path that it would have to take if you could grab a double bye next week, and a win tomorrow night locks that in. And so I think he's been very open with his group about that. And he stated pretty plainly, it's great that this group has something to play for, because heading into the year, no one thought much about this team. It's 7 freshmen on the roster and not a single senior. And so no one really knew what this group was going to be. And it took them a while to figure each other out. And now here in conference play, they've been just terrific. And so now that there's kind of a brass ring to grab with this one, and they know that they're not trying to put too much pressure on that, because they do have another opportunity coming up Sunday, but they also know that they can check a big box tomorrow night and make it a Friday start in Fort Worth and winning 3 games. And the way this team has played defense, they feel good about making a run with the way that they play. But if they can knock out that, to put that cherry on top of the Sunday tomorrow at East Carolina, then they're going to feel really great about themselves.
We're visiting with Corey Gloor, voice of the Tulane Green Wave. Once upon a time, not too long ago, was the voice of Pirate Baseball, has many friends here still. And Corey, like watching Ron Hunter and Tulane basketball this year, it just seems like he's having a lot more fun as a coach. I mean, certainly he still gets frustrated and has his mannerisms, but Jalen Forbes and some of the stars of the last few years are gone, but it just seems like Tulane is a much better team and is a much more, easier group to coach. Would you agree with that, seeing as you're obviously around them a lot more than me?
Yeah, 100%. You're dead on here, and I think I would say, and many around ECU would probably say the same about Coach Schwartz and what he's been able to do that year and the group that he has this year. And you can kind of see it when they play in his mannerisms as well. It seems like he's having a lot more fun with this group than in previous years. I mean, it all starts with Ron Hunter. If you have an interest in playing that matchup defense, it's one thing to pick it up, but if there's a desire to learn it, then you're in his good graces. And to put it simply, last year's team was so skilled offensively. You mentioned Jalen Forbes. Kevin Cross was in that mix as well. Theon James, who's now starting at Duke for that team. Like, that group was so good offensively, but they kind of stayed that way. And being on the defensive end of the floor was frankly just not a big priority for a lot of that team last year. That's not the case with this group. This group really leaned in to the defensive side of the ball, and that's carried them through. And that has been what has kind of elevated Ron Hunter and how much he has enjoyed coaching this team. He thought long and hard after last season about whether or not he would stick around in this day and age of college basketball. And he said, let me give this a go. Let me try the NIL world. He did not really go through that in the first couple of years, and he gave it a go. And what he has here is a team that on paper is the best recruiting class he's had. And on just the court, probably the most fun he's had coaching while here at Tulane. And so that has combined with a team that has exceeded a lot of people's expectations this year.
Rowan Brumbaugh obviously having a heck of a year, and didn't really appreciate how good he was, Corey, until I sat down and watched the Tulane-ECU game the first time around. Just his ability to get in the paint, to get to the foul line. It's kind of an art to sell it, to get fouled as much as he does, but he's a great free throw shooter too. Great assist to turnover ratio. Coming in, I'm sure they expected some things out of him, but how good has he been, and is he the biggest reason for success for this team?
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the way he has evolved, they expected him to be a true point guard when he came in. That's kind of what he was at Georgetown, and he has been that here. He's second in the league in assists. But what has happened in conference play is that his scoring has really taken a big step forward. And you mentioned part of that the driving ability that he has. Tulane runs those mid-ball and high-ball screens a lot. That sends him streaking to the rack. And, yeah, he'll draw some fouls off of that as well. And he did in that first matchup with East Carolina quite a bit. But his jump shot opened up. What that allowed this team to do is Greg Glenn III, the big who had the game winner against Tulsa on Saturday, he runs point a little bit now. Asher Woods has been huge coming in the starting lineup in conference play. He's taken some of the scoring load, but it's also taken defensive focus away from Rowan, and that's opened up his long-range shot. And on top of that, the guy who's been the best player in non-conference, and Caleb Banks, and was at the start of conference play, had struggled for a good month in the middle of league play, and it wasn't until that ECU game a couple weeks ago in which he really got back to life. And so now this team offensively has a good 4 or 5 options for you to defend. Cam Williams, the freshman guard, the other one, can hit a couple threes on you. And so now with Brumbaugh's scoring ability on top of his distribution ability, he's become kind of an all-encompassing guard. And for my money, he's the point. He's the first team guard in this league. There's no doubt about it to me with what he's meant to this team.
You mentioned Caleb Banks, that I think he hit at least multiple of those threes that he hit against ECU early in that game. It felt like watching that game that him stepping out and making those shots really changed how ECU was going to try and defend Tulane and opened up the floor. And how much of that, too, has been to Tulane's success? Because it feels like when I've watched them, not only, like you said, has Brumbaugh been good, but, one night it's Banks, one night it's Williams. Asher Woods has stepped up. He had a game winner against Rice. So it does feel like even though ECU may go into this game trying to take out Brumbaugh, you still don't know from night to night who's going to step up for Tulane.
Yeah, and that was a huge step forward for Caleb a couple weeks ago against the Pirates. It wasn't necessarily that he was struggling, is that you could see that the confidence on the offensive side of the ball was really gone. Priority 1 for teams defensively from mid-January till mid-February. And then after a couple days off the floor, he kind of realized how assertive he needed to be, and he missed a shot right away in that ECU game, but he had a couple of blocks right after that, and that really locked him in. It was the defensive end that sort of settled him down, and then the confidence just skyrocketed. And so I think that changed ECU's game plan quite a bit because Caleb had been so passive in the first 6-7 games prior to that night, and then that opened the door for a lot of other people to step through. So yeah, you're right. There's pick your poison right now for this Tulane offense. No one's really gonna kind of blow you out of the water with this offense, but there's no one guy you can lock down and say, if we stop this, then we've got to win, because they've really broadened out who can score for this team.
Resident Corey Gloor. Corey, while we got you, we'll hit on a baseball item or two. Just good start for Tulane. Look, 9-3. I know they lost the series to Pepperdine, but still a 2-2 West Coast road trip with the win over Long Beach State. Certainly, I think is more than solid holding your own out there. I see Connor Rasmussen is hitting a solid .356 through 12 games. We know the Wave can do damage in the conference tournament. Is this the year they put it together from day one to the end?
I think they feel they have the roster to make a charge in the league in the regular season. I mean, there's a stretch in mid-April that could very well decide it. It's coming to East Carolina, and then I believe that's the week after they go to UTSA. And so UTSA Easter weekend, and then to East Carolina the following weekend. And not to break out a Sharpie, but those 2 weekends might determine what Tulane can do in the regular season standings. This is the deepest team they've had. This is a group that can probably put 14, 15 guys into a starting lineup, and they feel comfortable, not just with, it's not because of a lack of options, it's because of matchups, and they feel great about who they can throw in there. It's a team that right now there's not a ton of starting pitching, but they feel like they have the deepest bullpen they've had in quite some time. And that was a huge element over the weekend in the West Coast, was the bullpen carrying through. Even in those one-run losses that they had, it was the bullpen that did great work on top of, Friday, Saturday, getting some good starting pitching performances from there. So, yeah, I mean, it's a team that already has an injury or two right now, but it hasn't really derailed them because they feel the depth is so strong where they can carry them through, not just to Clearwater, but maybe into a position where they don't necessarily need Clearwater. They do feel like they have that type of roster. Now they just got to put it into practice.
He is Corey Gloor. Corey, we'll have the red carpet ready for you as long as you promise on October 8th when I make my way to New Orleans. You'll take me downtown to some Mardi Gras type experience in New Orleans. Can we make that happen in return?
Well, from what I understand, it's a Thursday night game, which means there's nothing you got to wake up for early. Like, it can be a little foggy on Thursday and have time to cleanse the mind a little bit before that Thursday night kick. So, I think that might be in the cards, Igo.
All right, Bourbon Street, here we come. October 8th, we'll be there. You can see me and Corey Gloor. Corey, we'll see you in Greenville here in a little bit later today, man. But looking forward to your return, and always good to catch up.
Thank you, bud. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. That's Corey Gloor. Still very much loved around these parts, along with his time in New Orleans by Tulane fans. But always great to catch up with Corey Gloor. We'll see him at Minges Coliseum tomorrow night, ECU Tulane. We'll get a break in. We'll come back. We will wrap up the show right after this.
Ready to go for big savings? You've got the green light at Greenville Toyota with a new Corolla just $239 a month or new Tacoma only $349 a month. The green light savings event is on right now at Greenville Toyota.
The team of Flatlands Jessup is working overtime to help ensure that Eastern North Carolinians like you get the health insurance help you need this open enrollment period. New legislation passed meaning more people than ever qualify for affordable coverage. Let us help you today.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Everybody loves Tiebreakers.
Big tax credits are back. Get a 30% tax credit, up to $2,000 off your new Mitsubishi electric heat pump install. Let Comfort Master help you take advantage of the tax credits with a qualifying Mitsubishi electric ducted heat pump or non-ducted Mitsubishi electric mini splits. Mitsubishi electric mini splits are ideal for bonus rooms, garages, or sunrooms. If you need a new HVAC unit, call Comfort Master today.
Call Comfort Master. Call Comfort Master.
Tired of the 1-800 numbers advertising Medicare products? Flatlands Jessup has 6 offices all throughout Eastern North Carolina. You get face-to-face help from our local award-winning licensed team. Stop by today. Flatlands Jessup, your whole world covered.
Your roof is a vital part of protecting your home and family from dangerous storms and hurricanes. At Assist Roofing, we install and maintain metal roofing that provides precise protection. Add value to your home while lowering utility costs with a fortified roof to last a lifetime. With 0% financing, grants, and Energy Star Green Roofing tax credit available. Call us to schedule a free consultation so you can weather any storm with confidence.
Green is what you'll save during our Green Light Savings event at Greenville Toyota. Get a new Camry, $269 a month, or a new RAV4, $339 a month. When the green light is on, you save big at Greenville Toyota.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Back to Hoist the Colors with Steve and Igo.
Drink up for me, hearty yo-ho.
On 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome back in. Final segment. Been a fun show. We've covered a lot. ECU hoops with Corey Gloor. voice of the Tulane Green Wave. Always great to catch up with Corey. We also talked some ECU football, and we talked some ECU baseball as well. Final segment, I did want to get to Javis's comment about the playoff and his solution for it. Colton Miller wants to know, will ECU baseball ever wear the powder purples at home? They have before, at least a few times. I don't recall the exact games, but the issue is you've got pinstripes for midweek home games. You've got white unis for Friday. Saturday is purple. Sunday is gold. And so you don't really have a designated day for powder purples unless they want to break it out in the midweek. So usually if you have a 5-game midweek or 5-game week and a double midweek, you might get one there. But there's my schedule jersey analysis for anybody that cares. Steven on Facebook says, I agree with the powder purple unis. They bring bad karma for our Pirates. How do you feel about powder purple, Philip? Do you feel like ECU should wear them at home more, or should they not wear them at all?
Powder purple's not our color. It looks like Easter purple. I don't like Easter purple. I don't like Easter green. I don't know why teams need to have powder. Carolina can have powder because it's their actual color. Ole Miss doesn't need powder. We don't need powder. And, all these MLB teams other than the Kansas City Royals don't need powder. So,
not a fan of powder.
Not a fan of powder. The girls are trying to talk Shane into getting powder. They really want it. He has invested in some nice powder purple Patrick Mahomes shoes that he really likes, but Shane is also on my side of he's not a huge fan of the powder purple uniforms, but the softball team is pushing for it. So we'll see what happens there.
We'll see what happens. I do like the softball unis. They got some cool stuff. And by the way, so Michigan still on for 6 o'clock tonight?
Nope, just got pushed to 7. Katie just texted me.
Man.
I'm going to be here all day. So much for me going to trivia.
Dude, I'm going to trivia tonight.
You're going to trivia. Third place is going to be there?
Third place is going to make an appearance.
The Coneheads will be there, but I will not be a part of it. You got William, Dom, Pancake, and I guess William's bringing a buddy, so we'll see how it goes.
Brady Thomas and James Gilio also making their trivia debut with third place. So we'll see what happens. You're going to miss some stars out tonight.
Dang it.
Man.
What the hell? Stupid Mother Nature. She's the biggest you-know-what of them all.
Yeah, there's no doubt, especially in situations like this. All right, Javis has a solution for the playoffs. We'll read it. We got a couple minutes left. He says, I have a solution for the playoffs that would make it more exciting at the end of the year and also get rid of the bowl format altogether. He says each conference champion would be guaranteed a spot in the playoff, ensuring that all conference, regardless of size or perceived strength, have representation. Beyond the automatic bids, additional spots would be awarded based on a conference coefficient system. These coefficients would be calculated using conference teams' performance in the playoffs over a set period of time, rewarding sustained success by granting more playoff berths to stronger conferences. This creates a merit-based structure where the most competitive conferences earn more representation while still preserving access for every champion. Javis, good idea. Here's the problem. The Big Ten and the SEC will never let this happen. They have too much control. They are going to hog all the spots. As a result, they will become almost by association, because they have so much power, they will become the most merit-based because they have the most money and the most power. And so it will look like it's fair. In reality, it's not. It's almost basically a monopoly, but I don't know what can be done to stop it. But I appreciate the option and the solution. I just don't think it's ever going to happen. Philip, I don't know if you have any differing thoughts.
Have like the 32 best teams break off, have a 16-week regular season, and just do it all on Saturdays. No more NFL Saturdays. We can just have Saturday college football, Sunday NFL football, same format, same structure. About the top 32 are the only ones that can afford to break off anyways, and then the rest of us can just play in the college football playoff and still have some fun bowl games on the side.
Yeah, I mean, just go, like, they want to do their own thing anyways. Just go ahead and do it. Go ahead and separate, and the rest of us can still play fun college football. That would be my solution as well. I don't know when or how exactly it'll all look 15 years from now, but it's just, I don't know. It just feels like it's inevitable, so why do we keep kicking the can down the road? College sports in general, I just hope they don't mess with March Madness.
That's my biggest worry. That's why I'm worried about this the most. Look, I'm going to be completely honest, and Chris and I were talking about this. I think since probably like my senior year of high school, you can count on one hand the amount of March Madness games that I did not watch a second of. I usually watch all 67 games. Maybe not start to finish, but close.
And I'm a much bigger football than basketball fan, but I'm the same way. I would much rather watch March Madness than the college football playoff, to be quite honest, because of the storylines, Cinderella, and more. All right, we're out of time. We could talk about this all day. Maybe we'll continue the discussion later this week. Appreciate Corey Gloor once again. We'll continue to preview Tulane-ECU tomorrow on the show. We'll also preview the Coastal Carolina series. Big weekend ahead for baseball. We'll see you then, 12 noon on Thursday.
This has been Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo. Tune in weekdays at